Hey everybody, welcome to Performance Anxiety. Thank you all for listening. I'm your host Mark, and I want to give a big thank you to our sponsor AKG for sending us their Podcaster Essentials kit with their amazing Lyra mic and the most wonderful set of headphones I've ever used. If you've ever thought about starting your own podcast, this is the best way to get into it. Anne Husick is our guest, and she talks about growing up in New York, but missing the entire early New York City punk scene because she went to Miami for college. She joined Band of Susans after being very persistent and almost immediately went on a European tour for 6 weeks with people she didn't know. She reminisces about playing in an incredibly loud band with 4 guitars. She eventually left Band of Susans to play with Ronnie Spector, Joey Ramone, and Wicked Wilson Pickett, among others. But she also lost her voice for 6 years. Recently, she recorded Lulu's To Sir With Love with Roostar and the Roulettes, and she got the approval of Lulu herself and some other unexpected people. Give Anne a follow at AnneHusick_music on Instagram. Follow us at PerformanceANX on all the socials. We love coffee from ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety. Merch is found at performanceanx.threadless.com. Rate and review the show and check out the other great podcasts on the Pantheon Podcast Network like Long May You Young, Let It Roll, and Highway Hi-Fi. Now let's make some noise for Anne Husick on Performance Anxiety.
Great. Okay, hi, my name is Annie Husick. I'm a singer, songwriter, guitar player, bass player, percussionist, vocal arranger. I've been in a bunch of bands maybe you heard of. Band Susans, Ronnie Spector, Wilson Pickett. And I'm on the Performance Anxiety podcast. That was terrible. I feel like an idiot saying all those bands, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just say I'm here because Mark liked Band of Susans, and if you want to hear any more, listen to the show. Okay. In this time of COVID, I have been a lifelong insomniac.
Okay.
Many times I'll live on 3 hours of sleep in the middle of the night.
Wow.
But what I found out during COVID when I was never going out was that what my body actually wanted was to sleep from 6 to 9 and then again from like 1 to 4.
Oh, wow.
So I was getting not the 1 to 4, I was pushing it from like 3 to 6 or something. But so this is during my typical sleep.
Oh.
So I've had some coffee, you know.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. We could have pushed it a little bit.
Oh,
if you wanted to.
No, it's okay. The world is opening up again, so I'm going to, this luxury of time is over.
Yeah, well, that's good and bad, I guess. I mean, I'm glad everything's opening up. Hope you can adjust your sleep patterns.
That will never happen.
So, I first discovered you as part of Band of Susans back when Here Comes Success came out, and I worked my way backwards from there. So that's kind of what I do with this podcast is to find out, go back to the start, find out how you got into music and how you got to where you're at right now and what you're doing right now.
Oh, dear.
So the first thing I usually ask is, how did you get into music in the first place? Was music a big part of your family life, or were you the odd one that got into music when no one else was into music?
Well, I had 2 older sisters. My middle sister wasn't really a music fan, but my oldest sister was listening to music in the 60s. So we had Beatle records and we had In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
Oh, wow.
And things that, I mean, the Beatles, I have a really, really good ear, and I was born with it because I could always distinguish the harmonies, and I could sing them. I could sing the harmonies.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so bands with a lot of harmony always really attracted me. Badfinger, Beach Boys, and the Beatles, the 3 Bs. Mom had me take piano lessons.
Okay, so piano was the first instrument.
Yeah, probably singing was the first instrument.
Oh, okay.
Really. But then I took piano, but I didn't really like piano. I didn't want to read music. It was like, I had such a good ear that when my teacher would come in, I would kind of like check out what he was doing. And then I would practice it like that all week. And then he'd come in the next week and he'd say, Annie, that isn't right. You didn't read the music. And I'd be like, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Of course I didn't. You know, I memorized it the way I remembered him playing it. So after a little while, he just gave up on me happily because I was not interested in playing piano. Right. And then I ended up taking guitar lessons when I was 9 from my oldest sister, Jody's friend, Leslie Ring, whose brother was in the band that did Amy. What band was that? Oh, was that Pure Prairie League? Yeah, Pure Prairie League, yes. Wow. So I think I took lessons from her for maybe like a year, something like that. And she did not teach me to read music. Okay. She taught me to play chords. She taught me finger picking. Oh, wow. We did a lot of folk tunes, and I kind of went from there after that. I would listen to songs, and I remember being challenged to figure out something from Tommy when I was about 11. Oh, wow. And so I had to like figure out that song. Where's that chord? You know, I knew some chords, but how do I play that? I can't play that anywhere over there. So right from the beginning, I was challenged with figuring stuff out, which I think really helped in my musical development. And then, I don't know, I heard School's Out. Oh. And that backwards guitar. I never really wanted to be a lead guitar player, but that song just was like, that made me want to play guitar. Yeah. And then you'll like this. I heard Roundabout by Yes. Yes. And I said to myself, I want to be able to sing the lead guitar parts because I'll never be able to play them because I was like, you know, kind of a folk guitar player. Right. Oh, my gosh. And so that also influenced my development as a songwriter later and arranger. Oh, okay. And then what happened? Then I went to this really cool middle school, IS 61 in Queens, and it was really arts oriented. And my teachers encouraged me to try out for music and art. Okay. Which I did, and I got in. I was a vocal principal, but I had terrible performance anxiety. Oh. Which I always called stage fright. Right. So I got out of singing solo anytime I could, because if I couldn't, I would just get sick. I'd get like literally get sick. Yeah. And if I had to perform in the choir, it was scary, but I would do it. Yeah, you could hide a little bit more in that. Right. Yeah. It wasn't just me. And I loved the harmony. So, you know, there was a couple of reasons there. Yeah. And then I ended up going to University of Miami in 1977 because it was one of only 2 schools in the country that had a music engineering program. Oh, wow. Yes. This was 1977. I was there until 1980. I missed all the great punk stuff in New York. I missed the whole thing. Because I was way too naive when I was in high school to go out. And then I missed it. But I majored in sex, drugs, and rock and roll because I was in Miami in the 70s. Yeah, I was going to say. I did not listen to disco, but I found all the cool hippies down there. Oh, there you go. And finally, after 3 years, I dropped out of music engineering after 2 and went into some other program, and then dropped out of that and went into some other program. After 3 years, I was like, maybe I ought to get out of here and stop wasting my parents' money. I want to be a musician. I don't need to go to school for that, even though I took amazing programs, you know, vocal classes and percussion classes and theory classes. I never think in terms of theory because I'd have to sit there and figure it all out. It's all about my ear, my golden ear. Yeah. So then, let's see. When I was in University of Miami, my friends Russell and, oh my gosh, I forgot his name, asked me to sing on a recording. And because it was going to be kind of an enclosed environment instead of being out with everybody. I was like, all right, I'll give it a try.
Okay.
And we recorded a song they did called Cooler Heads Prevail. And we did it week after week after week after week after week. And then I found myself not being afraid to sing in front of people.
Ew.
So it was the best thing I got out of college was those like maybe 8 weeks that we worked on that song, because I got over my stage fright.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
then I joined a band with my college friends. And when that broke up, it took me 6 months to realize I could look for another band. So I looked in the Village Voice. I got into Bill Pop and the Tapes.
Yeah, I saw that. That's some interesting stuff.
Yeah. I played with him for about 1.5 years, but in the meantime, a friend of mine, Chris Gibson, brought a friend of his named Jeff Knockin to CBGB's because they had a band called The Big Picture, and Chris wanted me to play in the band. Okay. I took one look at Jeff. I turned around to my friend and I said, oh shit, I'm in trouble, because I felt madly in love with him at first sight, literally. Oh. And 30-something years later, he's still my best friend. We broke up after like 8 months or 9 months, but he's still my best friend. So, you know. That's awesome. He also was the one that saw the ad in the Village Voice from Band of Susans. And the ad read something like, guitar player wanted for recording and touring, no money. And Jeff dialed the number and stuck the phone in my hand. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think this was in 1988. And so I talked to Robert, and I was very nervous because Band of Susans, oh my God. Yeah. Not only did I love their music, I worked with Page Hamilton. Oh, okay. And when he got into Band of Susans. So what were you doing with Page? He wasn't in the band anymore. I knew Page. So what were you doing with him at the time? How did you know him? We worked at the Learning Annex. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I answered the telephone, and I think he did distribution. And he was a really nice guy. And, he was from the West Coast, and he played some jazz guitar, but he got into Band of Susans, a band that I knew. And I was like so excited for him. So I ended up auditioning for them either after he left or after Karen left. And I think it was after Karen left. And they liked me a lot, but I didn't get in. They picked somebody else. And then 1 year later, they called me and they said, we decided not to, they asked me to audition again. Or they said, we need you to come on tour with us. And I said, I can't do it. So they asked me to audition again. And I did. And I ended up getting the gig. Wow. And I was in the band for 5 years. I recorded several albums, EPs, singles with them, did a lot of touring, and it was pretty life-changing. Well, I asked Robert if there's anything that I should ask you about, anything in particular, and he said, oh my God. He said two things. He said that you were incredibly persistent in your auditions for Band of Susans. And he said, ask her how she ended up with a one-of-a-kind GNL SC3 to SC1 conversion. Well, I don't remember being particularly persistent. I just maybe called him up a lot and was like, so, you want me to be in the band? But what happened is that when I went for the audition, he wanted me to play a muted guitar, and I had never done it before. So I went home and I practiced it. And I did it, I learned how to do it, obviously, at some point. But I just loved the band, and I wanted to go on tour, and I wanted to be in Band of Susans, It was just like, where was I working at the time? I think Oh, I don't even, oh, at the New York Roadrunners Club. No, it was a couple of years after that. So maybe the Learning Annex, maybe I don't know, somewhere. Oh, no, the Doctor. Was that where I was working at the time? Oh, yeah. Oh, Doctor, I have to go on tour for 6 weeks. Ooh. She wasn't too happy about that. But it was just, it was hard. This was being in Europe for 6 weeks with people you don't really know, before cell phones, before computers, before Kinko's.
Oh.
Like once Kinko's opened, maybe that was the 93 tour, it made it so much easier because there was consistency.
Okay.
But before that, it was like, let's hope that there's a copy shop because we have to make flyers, we have to send postcards, we have to do this, that, and the other thing. It was really old school.
Wow,
but
I didn't think of that.
Again, just amazing. We toured with the Mekons.
Oh, cool.
Yes, that was one of maybe the first tour because we did a show. Once I was in the band, we recorded it and then we didn't play. And I was like, are we really going to go on tour? Am I really in the band? Yeah. And then finally Robert called me and he's like, we're going to do a show in Connecticut and then we're going to do a show with the Mekons at Tramps, and then we're going to go do a tour. So I was like, okay, yay.
Yeah.
I was really happy it was real.
Yeah.
The tour the show in Connecticut was funny because we ran out of gas on the way back.
Oh, gee.
Except we didn't really. We had 2 gas tanks because it was a big van.
Yeah.
But nobody knew that. So I ended up in a taxi at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, geez.
Anyway, the second show was with the Mekons, and I had to go to work that morning. And I was so nervous I couldn't even hold a pencil. I'm like, how am I going to do this show tonight? I can't even hold a pencil. How am I going to hold a pick? How am I going to play? I was so nervous. And then at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it just went, shh. And I went over to the club, and it was just amazing because it was sold out. This was the second show I was playing with Band of Susans. Wow. The Mekons were fantastic. I felt really fortunate for the bands that a lot of the bands that we toured with were pretty top quality acts.
That's awesome. I wish I'd never gotten a chance to see Band of Susans live, and I'm so annoyed that I caught on too late. So. Have
you seen the videos on YouTube? There's one from Germany, I think.
I may have seen that one. I think Robert may have directed me to that one. I did see the one. I was watching the one today of you guys in the studio during. That was really cool. You don't get to see.
I didn't get to watch it because I'm so busy. Doing like a million music projects, so it's great. I will watch it.
That's good. Yeah. Well, I'd rather you were working than watching YouTube. but it's really cool. It's got a whole bunch of
a Band of Susans nostalgia hour before this interview, and I listened to some songs, and I just thought about being on tour with them and recording with them, and it was really exciting.
Yeah.
Standing next to Robert Poss's guitar. Yeah. It was loud, but it was beautiful. It was just like I've never spent so much time getting my sound. In fact, on those shows, I got my sound directly through the amp, I think with a noise reduction unit. That's it. Wow. That's all I used. Wow. I had a tuner and a noise reduction unit. And he had these effects that Nicholas Collins had built, and wow. He spent a lot of time tweaking stuff, and it sounded great.
Yes.
So, it was a treat and an honor.
I loved, like I said, I had to go work my way backwards. And one of the things I like, I love a good cover song. And Band of Susans did 2 of my favorites of all time, and you're on them. And it's Paint It Black. love that version of Paint It Black. And Guitar Trio. Guitar Trio is so intense. I absolutely love that song. Is it difficult to do, and maybe not with Guitar Trio, but when you're recording and whether you're writing or playing live, is it difficult to be in a band with 3 really loud guitars? And that doesn't, I'm not even talking about the bass. So you basically have 4 guitars in the band.
I think if it was now, I wouldn't be able to do it because my ears have sustained way too much damage over the years. Yeah. But back then, I was pretty much the only one wearing anything in my ears, and I would just stuff tissues in because it cut the high end. No, it was glorious playing with that. Doing Guitar Trio, we put everyone into a trance, and we would do it last, and I always thought we should do one more song to wake everybody up because they had to drive home. A lot of these shows were not in the city,
right?
But doing Guitar Trio live was astonishing because you just went into a trance, and because the guitars were so loud, there were these phantom melodies and sounds being generated.
Yeah,
and it was transformative and hypnotizing, and it was beautiful, and we couldn't have made that happen any other way. You couldn't write that, right? You didn't know what was going to happen. It was just in the moment. It was, how the room was shaped and how many people were there, and just the interaction of everything. So it was very creative on that level, even though we had our parts, we played our parts, but it was always in the moment. It wasn't like nobody was phoning it in, Right. And if you're doing that stuff in the moment, it's super exciting, Gosh. So it was a real joy to participate in that.
Well, I think Here Comes Success is probably one of the, if not the most underrated album of the 90s. I mean,
so sweet.
Seriously, you've got songs like Hellbent, Elizabeth Stride, In the Eye of the Beholder, As Luck Would Have It. Everything is just so dense. What I was craving at that time. I just wanted the thickest sound I could find, and I mean, Band of Susans was it.
What else did you listen to?
Oh, back then I was huge. I loved Verve, big Verve fan. Before they added the Definite Article, so A Storm in Heaven and A Northern Soul are my 2 favorite Verve albums. But Slow Dive, I listened to a lot of. Back then, I liked Tool. At this point, a lot of what Tool has done sounds like everything they've already done to me. So I'm a little tired of Tool. But back then, they were still cranking out some really heavy, unique stuff. Obviously, Helmet, Dinosaur Jr. So, I loved the heavier stuff. And the more unknown or obscure, the better. So me and my buddies would always get together, and we'd bring CDs, have a part, throw some stuff on, and I'd throw Band of Susans on, and one of 2 things would happen. Everybody would either just go, "This is crazy," or like, "What is going on?"
Right, but just think, if Band of Susans wasn't obscure, would you have ever found us?
I don't. You know what? I'm not. That's a good question, because what actually drew me in wasn't even really. I didn't hear the album at all. It was the cover. Because it had a 66 Marlin on the cover, and that's one of my favorite cars of all time. And then
that's really great. I bought albums because of the covers too, and that turned out to be favorites.
Yeah, and then the Now EP with the it's like a 33 Ford Bonneville Salt Flat Racer on it, and that beautiful black and white image. I mean, I saw them at the same time, and because I was at some record store and I picked up Here Comes Success, and then I'm like, this is incredible. And I went back and I got Now, and then they kept going back and further Veil, and you guys hooked me with the cover art first. That's
excellent. My friend Jeff, the one I told you about, did the photograph on The Word in the Flesh.
Oh, wow.
He did the guitar stuff.
I love that. Yeah. I thought that was amazing. I love. Okay, now this is going to sound weird maybe, but I was a photographer for years. From like I went to college for it from like 91 until, let's see, when my kids were born. It was till about 2003. And I've gotten back into it in the past few years, but since I have a day job, I do the photography that I want, not stuff that I have to do to pay the bills. Right. And so I do a lot of, up until the pandemic, a lot of shows, a lot of music events and all. And one of the things I like to do is to get a close-up of the guitar, whoever's playing the guitar, because of that album and My Bloody Valentine.
Right.
Loveless.
And we came out before My Bloody Valentine.
That's right.
But I love My Bloody Valentine.
Yes. Oh, gosh. So do I.
That's the loudest show I ever saw. I knew their music so well, and I could not distinguish one song from the next. And I had my earplugs stuffed in there. You know, it was just like, it was like unnecessarily loud. I'm sorry. Like, what joy is there in that? It's an assault.
I've heard that. I've heard that Swans are similar, where it's just, and I haven't seen My Bloody Valentine or Swans live, but I did see Ministry, and same thing. I don't know much Ministry, but I couldn't tell when one song. And the only thing I could tell was at one point they did a cover of Supernaut, and that was the only thing I could recognize. And we were outside too. Yeah. And I had to hold my ears. It was ridiculous.
Oh my God.
It was an outdoor show.
I would get, I went to a lot of concerts in Madison Square Garden when I was a teenager, all the arena rock bands that were the bands I was listening to.
Yeah.
I did not like punk until 1987. And then I ended up performing with Joey Ramone. So it was just a good thrill,
How did that happen?
Well, through lots and lots of twists and turns, I ended up in Ronnie Spector's band.
Yes.
Right in my lap. It was a thank you. And Ronnie was working with Joey. So I got into her band in 99. So from 99 to 2001, or maybe the end of 2000, I don't know. Yeah. We did any shows with Joey in 2001. We did a bunch of shows together. It was really fun.
And you ended up, you played on Ronnie's album, it's The Last Rock Star?
Yeah, I think I sing background vocals on 3 songs on Last of the Rock Stars.
Okay.
And also on the couple of the tracks that I'm on is Keith Richards.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that.
Oh my God.
I don't want flowers or fancy things. I gave up on a diamond ring. Just want a little pat on the back from you. Not another little subtle attack from you. Just want a little something to show me that you care. Whether I live or die. For you to treat me with a little respect. Not like a big pain in the neck. All I want is tell me it's all right.
What a thrill, It was always a thrill to sing with Ronnie. Every time we sang her songs, it was like, ooh, a little chill. And I was not a Ronettes fan growing up.
Oh, really?
I didn't listen to that. I listened to like the Beatles, and I didn't listen to doo-wop and girl groups. It wasn't my thing.
Okay.
But of course, once I got into the band, I was like, I learned everything. It was like, oh my God, this stuff is great. And then she did the show Beyond the Beehive, where she talked about her life. And it was just an amazing story, you know, and I read her autobiography.
Yeah.
And it was quite a tale. So it was an honor to do those songs, you know, that are timeless in my estimation, although the kids of today don't seem to be listening to music where they'll appreciate anything like that.
I agree. Right now, I think music generally is becoming more of a passive thing. Because when I was a kid, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I would get an album, LP, CD, didn't matter. I was opening it. I was reading the liner notes, reading lyrics, finding who the band thanked, who the producer and the engineers. I didn't even know what they did, but I wanted to know who was doing everything on it. And you don't get that anymore. You don't get all that information on just a download.
Right. That's true. It's just
it's a huge shame, I think, but we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. I guess the question I was going to get to before I sidetracked myself here was, I know in a lot of albums where they have guests appear on them, the main band doesn't really work with that guest. They'll record it elsewhere. Or did you actually get to work with Keith?
No.
I
worked in Daniel Ray's studio. Me and Trisha Scotti were there that day doing the background vocals together.
Man, I do like that album a lot. I was listening to it.
I like it too. I read some bad reviews and I'm like, get over it. You know, she's not the Ronettes. She's Ronnie Spector in 2008, 9 or whatever year it was.
Oh, some of those songs are great. Like Never Gonna Be Your Baby is just, I love that riff. I mean,
we used to do that live. That was really exciting.
I love that's a really rockin' riff. That is really great.
I wipe my face every morning, wet thoughts of you in my head. I'm not ashamed to tell you, but I fear what lies ahead. It smells of crime, it smacks of sin. I give a little more each time I give in, but I'm never gonna be your baby. Only heaven knows the reason why, and you're never gonna know the way I feel to need you, to want you. Oh,
And that song, just on a lot of levels, just the title, Never Gonna Be Your Baby, after Be My Baby, is just, I love it.
Yeah, I can't remember who wrote that one. It's in the liner notes. I can't find my copy of the CD.
Oh, no.
I have to order it.
Oh, man. Well, while we're here talking, I'll look it up real fast. But
computer.
Yeah. Some of the technology is helpful.
I don't know how to get anything organized. I do these shows. I started doing these shows in England on Facebook Live.
Okay.
So you perform for yourself, but you're in their context and they post your video.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I still haven't figured out how to do that with my computer over here and this over here. I don't know how to keep my computer on without it going off. I can do it to my phone, but not my computer. And it's just, I am not a technological genius. I'm such a throwback. I've never used MIDI.
Oh, wow.
I don't really use effects. And that's because of Robert, because of being in band Susans.
Yeah.
Now I'm playing acoustic. I've had several bands myself. I had an acoustic vocal duet with this girl, Jeannie. It was called Space Girl. And then I worked with this guy, Robert Knott Watkins, for many years. And we were Ann and Knott. We were Shameless. And I wrote the songs and he wrote amazing guitar parts.
Oh, nice.
To go with my guitar.
Is that anywhere where I could hear that? Because I didn't.
You know what? He just gave me some DVDs, so I'm going to look into getting them loaded into YouTube.
Oh, awesome.
So I'll let you know when that gets done.
Yeah, please
It's on the
do.
list. Maybe when
Understandable.
I'm up at the camp this summer. I go to the lake for the summer.
Oh, nice.
Now that I'm working again, finally, after all these crazy COVID months.
Oh, I did want to ask you a couple other questions about Band of Susans before we move on here. Were you into the avant-garde rock scene outside of Band of Susans? Was that something that you were working on?
I liked The Fall and Tuxedo Moon and Sonic Youth and Cocteau Twins.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of this DJ, Delphine Blue. She's still on, I think, FMU on Fridays from 6 to 9. And I know her now. When I met her, I was like, oh my God, you created the music that I loved. You know, you made me love, you played all these songs for me. So I didn't know Reese Chatham. I didn't, wasn't into that whole thing. So I guess yes and no.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yes and no.
So, all right. So
I liked weird music, but I wasn't into that specific scene.
So you weren't, so you, like I said, you weren't into Reese or like Glenn Branca or any, that wasn't.
No.
Okay.
I didn't know those guys. I didn't know them until Robert played me Guitar Trio. Or maybe, when I read some press and he had talked about them.
And Robert did mention this, and I did want to ask, he said, ask Ann how she ended up with that G&L guitar.
Oh, that G&L guitar. Well, I had a black Stratocaster, a 1977 Strat, and it was the worst guitar in the universe. It weighed 400 pounds, and it had 0 sustain. And Robert wouldn't let me play it in the band. So I played he had a blue guitar that I played, and I played this guitar in the band, and he ended up selling it to me, and I was ever so grateful, and I have played it ever since, and I've been in a whole, I also owned his L1000 bass that Susan played in Band of Susans. So that I played in a million bands, because I play guitar in my band and just a couple bands, but I play bass in everybody's band.
Okay.
So I love G&L. I'm a huge G&L proponent. I am not a gearhead in any way, shape, or form. I have one electric guitar. Oh, no, I have 2. I have a Gibson that I don't play very often because my boyfriend plays it. He's perfect. It went back and forth between that. It's really mine, but it's kind of his also. So I'm happy with the G&L. I love it. So I went from playing 11s in Band of Susans because I used to break strings all the time. Now I play 10s.
Okay.
I played 13s on my acoustic, and now I play 12s. I'm in my 60s, so my fingers aren't quite as agile. Thank God I don't have any arthritis or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm still playing constantly.
So, all right. So I've got a question, and not being a gearhead, I'm hoping you can answer this then.
Maybe.
He said that G&L is a one-of-a-kind SC3 to SC1 conversion, and
yes,
I don't know what that means.
It had 3 pickups in it originally.
Oh, okay.
The SC1 had 1 pickup, the SC2 had 2 pickups, and this was an SC3. Okay. And it had no pick guard. So he removed the bridge and the middle pickup and left the bass pickup. I think that's how it is. Sorry, Robert. Love you. You can't see me. I'm making a little heart. And so now it's only got 1 pickup. So I have nothing to think about. Actually, it must be the treble pickup, because it's toward the floor that I keep the toggle switch. But it's a beautiful guitar. I've taken terrible care of it, but it's mine, and I love it. And Joey Ramone signed it.
Oh, wow.
91. We did a Christmas show together at Life. And he signed my guitar. Good luck, J. Ramone, 99.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
it means a whole lot to me.
That's wonderful. So when did you start playing bass?
Well, guess I played bass in one of Latch's bands, which was not really anything. But I did a show with Tom Goodkind. My roommate was on. Well, I was on tour. My roommate was home, and Tom called for a stage manager. So my roommate ended up doing it. He had wanted me. And then in '93, Tom Goodkind called for my roommate to play bass, and he was out of town, so I ended up doing it. So that was my first gig, and it was a big deal. I think it was at St. Mark's Church, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Something. It was some celebration. And then I got into this band Siberia in '96, and that was really where I had to get my act together because their producer was a tyrant, like old school music business, screaming. I had to learn someone else's bass parts.
Oh, wow.
And if I made a mistake, I got yelled at.
Oh.
So it was not good for my something, but it was good for my playing in the long
Yeah.
something. I don't know. It was miserable, but I loved the band. So it was a creepy noir rock and roll band.
Oh, yeah? I'm going to have to
Siberia.
look at
Yeah, we did a little bit of touring.
Discogs, which is one of my go-tos to find out, related bands to my guests. Mm-hmm. They don't have half of this stuff on there.
I know. I have nothing. I need a manager or a press agent or a secretary or someone who would take care of all of this in my life because I have failed miserably. I failed at that, but I've had a really excellent career in music, I have to say. And through Ronnie, I got to play with Wilson Pickett.
I wanted to ask you about that for sure.
Okay.
How did you get hooked up with Wilson, and what was it like touring with that legend like that?
Well, there's a gentleman named John Tiven, and he wrote a song for Ronnie, and he came to see us at the Christmas show at the Bottom Line I guess it was '99. Oh, was it a Christmas? God, it must have been an early Christmas show. And then he asked Trisha Scotty and I were singing background vocals. He asked us if we wanted to do a show with Wilson Pickett at Irving Plaza that was going to be taped for the movie Only the Strong Survives.
Oh,
Only the Strong Survive. And we were like, yes, please. So then they asked us if we wanted to do Letterman the next day.
Oh.
And yeah, of course we did. So we did the show at Irving Plaza, and it was plenty weird, boy, I'll tell you.
Really?
Fun still, like, a real honor to work with a legend like that.
Yeah.
It was like Wilson Pickett, holy moly,
Okay.
And he was fantastic. He was just great, And then the next day we did the Letterman show, and that was probably one of the most fun days of my life because everybody that worked for David Letterman was really nice because I think they were treated well and they loved their jobs. And, they weren't stressed out. They were just doing their work, and they were so great. And then we got to sing. We did Only the Strong Survive, and Wilson Pickett was on fire. If you ever see it, that is on YouTube.
You ever heard? I remember 1965. Everybody was still alive. I'm a soul survivor. Come on, all night rider.
You can see he's just like prowling around the stage. We're in the background doing our little thing. And it was that was great. And then we went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for New Year's Eve. It was Y2K.
Oh.
And we sang at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it was great, but there was, weirdness within the band. And Trisha and I shortly thereafter decided that we didn't want to do it anymore. So we left the band. And it was a great experience. I'm really grateful that I got to do it. I got to meet D.A. Pennebaker because he produced the movie. I got to work with Eddie Kramer in the studio.
Wow.
Because he redid some of the vocals from the live show to go into the movie.
Okay.
And these are like cream of the crop humans who are doing this work. And it was really, really an honor to work with them. So that was my Wilson Pickett. And then I went on to do Hedwig and the Angry Inch. Because the bass player in Ronnie's band, although I played bass, I was her utility gal. I played guitar, percussion, harmonica, and sang. So this guy, Jeremy Chatsky, he was the bass player in Hedwig in New York at the Jane Street Theater. And I overheard him on the phone going, I need a sub. And I was like, I'll do it. So I ended up being a sub for that show. And then I also was in the cast in Chicago.
Oh, cool.
For a couple of months. And that was really exciting. We built the show up and the theater from scratch.
Wow.
So I got to see how the lighting was put together and staging and how they were running the whole thing. So that was real exciting also.
Oh, that's awesome. You did a couple of things that I thought were really interesting. I guess fairly recently. You were involved in a Neil Gaiman documentary. And you also were a part of a film called Revenge of Zoe. How did you get involved in...
Wait, what was the second thing you said?
Revenge of Zoe?
Oh, I'm not involved in it. That's my best friend, Jeff. Jeff grew up in England and went to school with Neil Gaiman. And they did their first cartoons together. They were in their first punk band together.
Oh, wow.
So I have met Neil on several occasions. And I did have a song in his documentary. Okay. But as far as, did I have a song in Revenge of Zoe? Maybe. Jeff was one of the producers, so maybe I did. I don't know.
It's under you have an IMDb listing here.
Oh, so I will have to look into that because I might have a song in the movie. It's part of the song.
It says, right now, I'm looking at it right now. It says Revenge of Zoe Music Department. Okay. And I'm trying to see if I can get, I can't get into any.
Sorry. I'm not up on these things. I'm a disaster.
No, well, we got to know what.
People have actually asked me to be their manager, which I think is the funniest thing ever. Funniest thing ever. Because really, oh my God, I would drive you into the ground in months, even if you've been together for 60 years.
You were also part of the last Jerry Lewis telethon.
I was part of the last Jerry Lewis telethon. I was singing with Ronnie Spector.
Okay.
And we did that. That was a real honor. Was Jerry there? No, Jerry Lewis was not there that year. I think Tommy James was there.
Oh, wow.
And, oh, gosh. I can't think of this guy's name. I can see his face. Sorry.
Sorry, guy.
My brain is not what it used to be. Well, my brain is not what it used to be. I've just done a lot of things over the years.
Yeah. It's hard to keep track of it all, I'm sure.
Yeah. We did that. What else did I do? I was on Jimmy Fallon with Ronnie also.
Oh, cool.
And we did the Christmas show. We did their Christmas show. And we got to play with the Roots, which was just another super honor. All of these things were just not taken for granted in any way. They weren't like, oh, I got to do that. It was like, oh my God, I got to do that. Yeah. So, makes my heart beat fast. So, I haven't made any money. Nobody knows who I am.
I know who you are. I
had a great career in the music business for 10 in the 90s, in the late 90s and in the 2010s, I booked a club called Sidewalk Cafe.
Okay.
By the end, for the last several years, I was doing 4 nights a month. And a lot of the bands that were sort of on the CB's Max's scene in the 70s played, all the oldsters, they all played at my club. And
oh, cool.
It was like a party every time, because my booking thing was not just to book bands, it was to book a night. So it would always be people, I knew people who knew each other.
Yeah.
So everybody would hang out all night long.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was really fun. Yeah.
That sounds like a blast.
I did a show that was Robert and Karen's birthday. And I think Jay, who had been in the band, Jay Braun had been in the band on
yes, I know Jay.
Yeah. He played in the band in 95. Him and Kelly Burns played drums in the 95 tour.
And then I saw recently you did To Sir With Love with the Roulettes.
Yes.
Tell me about the Roulettes, because I don't know a whole lot. I discovered that right before we started recording.
Those schoolgirl days of telling tales and biting nails are gone. But in my mind, I know that they will still live on and on. But how do you thank someone who has taken you from crayon?
There's not a lot to know about the Roulettes. The Roulettes is this woman, Rue Starr. You should look her up because she is a star. I just did a recording session with her yesterday with our friend Ray Galindo.
Okay.
And Rue used to have a show called Rue and Who, which was a weekly Wednesday afternoon interview show. And I didn't work on Wednesday, so I would go see her a lot. And I was often the guest or the Who. And so we've known each other for quite a long time. And what was I talking about? And it's Maya Lowe on keyboards. She lives in Utah now. I had just met her, and Tammy Johnson on drums. And we did a song, Sure With Love. We recorded it in Baltimore the day that I got mugged and my shoulder got broken. But I'll tell you that story after.
Okay, yeah.
Because Rue had a conversation with this guy in Canada, Paul Zest, who has a show called the Zest Radio Show. And he asked Rue if she would be interested in recording the song. And he made a pledge to give a dime for every viewing of the show up to $10,000. So he would pay up to $1,000 to a hunger organization, Feed the Children.
Wow.
So we've gotten a lot of hits, but it's only showing about 3,000 now. So we're hoping to get up to 10,000. We don't know what went wrong or anything.
Oh, man.
But we got Lulu blessing.
Oh, wow.
Via Instagram.
Oh, wow.
Excuse me. We got the blessing of the man Sir's character was based on. I can't remember his name, but he got in touch with us.
Oh, wow.
And he loved the idea that we were doing it for the benefit of Feed the Children. And oh my gosh, like to be able to have the blessing of the woman who sang it and who the song is based on.
Yes.
You can't really ask for more than that. So it's our one-hit wonder. We did do a few shows, mostly with songs from Rue's songs. She has like 60 different bands. She plays with a lot of different people. I've played with her in a few different iterations, and she's just she's very cool.
You've also done a few of your own solo albums too.
I have done a couple of albums. They were not exactly representative of what I was doing.
Okay.
But they have their charms. I will not deny that. The first one was recorded in, I think, 99 or 97. It was called International Sweetheart,
right,
on Rainbow Quartz Records. I am not currently on their roster. And my second record was done, I don't know what year it was, 2016. It's called Insomnia.
Yes.
And it was on Worldwide Vibe Records.
Nature has a plan. I really have no say. Save your anger for the bitch. I've just gone insane, and I know that the river runs dry.
And I've had several bands. As I said, I had Space Girl and Shameless. And I put out, and I guess International Sweetheart, I can't remember if that's under Ann Husick or Shameless, and I think it's Shameless.
Okay.
And then Insomnia is under Ann Husick.
Yes.
But I've had a couple of bands. Exit 99 was my most recent band. I had it before COVID, and I decided not to continue with the band. I decided if I want to do my own stuff, I'd rather do it solo right now.
Okay.
Or maybe with my man partner guy. It's our 22nd anniversary yesterday. Our first the first day that we went out. I mean, the next day was my first Ronnie Spector gig, so that was quite a weekend.
Wow.
But we've been together 22 years. And so I don't know, what do you call him? My boyfriend, my husband, my thing, my guy, my partner. That thing. Mike. So Interstate Johnson, he plays guitar with me. I also, and in that band, I had Roger Stoltz on drums and Stu Richards on bass. And I had another band before that called Granny, with Ronnie Wheeler on guitar and Shauna Westgate on drums. Spector's band in 2010, at the end of 2010. And this girl, Jen Elliott, that I had been working with for 10 years, and this gentleman, Trevor Lloyd, he had a record label she was on, and I wrote with both of them for a 10 or 11 year period. They both kind of drifted away from me, and Ronnie was drifting away, and it seemed like nobody wanted to work with me, so I sold my bass head. I was ready to just give up. And then I saw Ronnie and Shauna play April of 2011, and I was just enamored. And one of my students was asked to play in their band, and she would bring their songs to she will deny this, but this really happened, that she brought their song to a lesson and asked me to help her work on it. But I was so jealous. I told her she should quit the band, give me the gig, and I wasn't going to help her if she has to figure it out herself. Oh my God, that's how much I love them. I just went in, that was a little insane and a little insensitive, but as it turns out, their bass player left. So both Nancy and I got to be in the band together, and she quit after about 5 years, and I left after about 6 years. Okay. It was just time, to move on. Mm-hmm. And Ronnie and Shauna have gone on to have great bands, Moritau. They play with my boyfriend in a band called Bad Avocado.
Oh, cool.
Ronnie also plays in Bowhead. They're playing at Bowery Electric soon.
Oh, cool.
And, everybody is doing something right now. So it's really good. I really, for the COVID year, I didn't do anything. I didn't write a single song. I didn't play bass. I played guitar maybe 10 times for different online shows that I had to do, but I didn't practice much. I just didn't care about music. I didn't listen to music.
Wow.
I'm so depressed because I lost a whole bunch of people right at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Alan Merrill and my co-op board president, Mel Doby, passed away on the same day.
Oh, God.
It's like, oh, my God. So I was lit. But then I was asked to do a few shows, and I saw some friends, and I was asked to do a recording session or two. I recorded with this guy, Michael G. Potter, a lot.
Okay.
And I just recorded with Ray Galindo yesterday, as I said, and I just woke up again. I started playing my guitar just for fun at home. I started doing these shows with these people in England. I did a bunch of Rue shows weekly this year because I said I have to get myself back into it. But I think it was more the England shows because they're like real performances. The Rue show was one song at a time, and it was a real fun hang, you know, with your friends every week. Yeah. And it was still satisfying, but this is like from 4 songs to a half hour, like 6 songs. You know, playing your stuff, and I think that all woke me up a lot.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Needed to happen. Yes, me too. Thank you.
Very glad.
Yeah, I hope that your year was not quite as dark.
It was my, you know, it's weird because my year wasn't too different from any other year because I still had to go to work every day. So I work for a medical device company in my day job.
Oh my gosh!
So I was an essential employee, and you know, until it came time for a raise, but that's a whole other story. But I was just going to work every single day. The only difference was I had to wear a mask to do it. Right. So, in fact, actually, my wife and I, we had some casualties. Unfortunately, we actually tested positive for it at one point, and it was very minimal for me. I lost my sense of smell for a few days, and I had a little like sinus pressure headache behind my eyes for like 2 days, and then that was about it. But my wife had some respiratory issues and all, and she had an uncle pass away from COVID, and my dad got it actually, and he's had a few lingering effects, but he's well on his way to recovery, and so it hit us, but we're working through it. I mean,
that's a lot.
We were very fortunate that we only lost one family member, so. But I didn't. Well, Mike's family, they lost his cousin just a few weeks ago. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But it was just like kind of relentless. So I got kind of numb.
It's been, it's been crazy. And you know, not for musicians and artists not being able to do what you do for a living. It's devastating.
I was a booking agent and a musician. So everything just stopped. And like most of my friends kept going during this. They kept writing. They did shows online. But me, and I have 2 other friends, Ricky Bird, who used to play with Joan Jett, and Binky Phillips from the Planets, we all just shut down, the 3 of us. And I was very sorry to hear that they did also, but I was also grateful to know that I wasn't the only one that, you know, because everyone was like, oh, you should be really creative now. You're going to have all the time in the world. And I was like, I don't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah.
You know?
I didn't
get to see my mother for 13 months, you know, or the rest of my family. Yeah. I didn't visit Mike's family, although he went up there. You know, it was just.
I've actually heard that from a lot of people, you know, when that they had all these plans when they found out that they weren't going to be doing anything for a long time, and they didn't follow through on any of them. So you're definitely not alone.
Right. Except the difference is I never had plans.
Well,
I didn't make plans. I didn't say I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. I never said that. I actually, in some ways, it's changed me because my life became very meditative. It was very immediate. Mike was here. He had a full-time job, so he was making money, paying the bills. Unfortunately, I didn't qualify for unemployment, and I didn't get any COVID relief money. But he was working, so I was support staff. I cleaned the house, I did the laundry, I cooked the food, I washed the dishes, and he didn't ask me to do that. It's just what I did. It was like it was important for me to do that in the time because he was contributing and I wanted to contribute. So that was my contribution to our situation, and it was an important one. So I didn't feel an imbalance, you know. I felt like
that makes sense.
Yeah. So in that way, that was good because I didn't have that additional guilt
Right.
on top of everything else.
Right.
But I'm just glad it really feels over. I've done a bunch of shows. I've done solo shows. I have one coming up at a club on Long Island called Buckley's on the 24th of July.
Awesome.
Right now it's billed as a solo show, and I don't know who else is playing that day. But that place is really fun. And the last time I had a solo show, it was really good.
Oh,
I have to say, I got to make an album, just acoustic album at some point, and do it the way I do it. You know, maybe with a little production, some background vocals. I love producing background vocals. I lost my voice for 6 years.
What? What do you? Okay, now you have
I'm
to.
not kidding.
You have to explain
I
that
lost my
one.
voice for 6 years, I think, because I was teaching guitar lessons at the New York City Guitar School for 11 or 12 years, and I never got a break. So even if I had a tired throat or a sore throat or anything, I just had to push through.
Wow.
And I think that in combination, I started, you know, I don't know if this had anything to do with it, but I do believe it did. I started using saline solution in my nose, and it like cleaned out my sinuses, and I lost all the architecture in my face, and it just like fucked up my vocal cords somehow. I don't, and I had GERD. So it was just like a big storm of all kinds of things at once. And I was in Red Gretchen, and I woke up in 2013 one day, and I could sing those notes again, because I actually lost notes. There were notes I couldn't sing because my vocal cords would just flap around.
Oh my God.
And I woke up one day and I could sing, and I put a band together the next day.
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh my God, I have all these songs. I've written so many songs for myself. I wrote a lot of songs for Jen Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
She was on City Canyons Records.
Yeah.
I wrote a lot of songs for Peter Ulrich, who was in Dead Can Dance, and that was also on City Canyons Records.
Okay.
I wrote songs for, you know, and then tons of songs for myself. I have so many songs I don't remember them.
Oh, no.
But I've been kind of going back and reviewing stuff lately, which has been a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
But I also, my friend Jeff is going to use a Band of Susan's song in one of his movies. He's a producer as well as 10 million other things. And he called the other day. He's like, I'm so excited. I just listened to the whole Band of Susan's catalog. It was great. Yeah. And so I listened to The Word in the Flesh today, and it was really fantastic. Yeah. In fact, I think I even put it on Facebook. One of the only albums I listened to during COVID was a Band of Susan's record, and I just sat in my chair and rocked, you know, for 45 minutes or however long it was. Yeah. It was great, and it just brought back a lot. And so I want to listen to all the Band of Susan's catalog too, because I love it.
Oh, I do too. It's
Thank you for bringing back so much nostalgia.
Oh, good.
In my brain.
I'm so happy.
Eating Chinese food in Prague. Oh no, that was in Belgium. To Susan getting, what is it called? And they put that yellow thing on your tire.
Oh, they
booted.
Yes.
They put the boot on your tire, and she talked the cop out of it. He took it off. It was just, you know, one of the most amazing things ever.
Oh man.
Yeah, and we played with this band, AC Temple. We toured with them in England, and they were fantastic. And we did a festival in Switzerland at Lake Zug that they invited us to in the last moment, and it was just the most glorious day. And I drank half a bottle of scotch on stage because it was so hot, and I didn't get drunk at all. It just evaporated. It was just the only liquid I had.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. I didn't get drunk at all. It was the weirdest thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and just the Stars and Maureen Tucker were on that, and you know, that was just super fun.
Oh, wow.
You know, we just had a lot of adventures over the year. I got to see all over America. I traveled all over America with Band Susan's. I've been everywhere but 4 states.
All right, so which ones are you missing?
Hawaii. Alaska, and North and South Dakota.
I should have been able to pick those out.
Because they say that North Dakota is the least visited state, and I have to admit that it is also one of mine that I have not been to. I'd love to go there, though. I just haven't had a chance.
See, I would go there. I would have to bring my camera.
Me too. Absolutely. I love taking pictures.
Oh, man. Are you on any social media platforms where people can follow you besides Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, and I am a poor contributor to Instagram. I have 7 whole photos up there, and I put them up because I was doing a show at Bowery Electric, and they were like, "What's your Instagram address?" So I was like, "Ooh, I have an Instagram address."
Quick, let me start one.
It's just Ann Husick _music.
Okay. Was there a favorite Band of Susan's tour or memory that you have from touring with them?
Oh, gee.
That's always a tough one.
Climbing around at Saguaro National Park, hiking in all black. All of us are all wearing black. pretty humorous. Yeah. And this is a negative, positive memory, just like we used to put negative reviews in our press kit because they were so funny. We played in LA. That's where our record label was, but they didn't invite anybody. And we started off with this song. I can't remember what the name of it was, but we farmed it pretty hard. And we just all turned around and went, "Oh my God." But it was just a moment, shit like that. You have to remember it fondly. Yeah. I have to remember that fondly. I can't be embarrassed by it. And it was what they deserved at the time. Oh, boy. Well, yeah. But I made a lot of friends. I'm a terrible friend, so I haven't kept in touch with a lot of people because I've been in so many situations since then that I have one friend here and one friend there and one friend here. Like, I keep in touch loosely with Robert and Mark and Ron, and much more loosely with Susan, although I love her and respect the hell out of all the work that she's done over the years. She's really dug into her art, which is a beautiful thing.
Oh, my dog is going crazy right now. I'm going to have to hold on a second.
Is it lightning?
No, my neighbor pulled into their driveway across the street.
Oh.
My dog does not like anybody going in front of our house.
Oh.
At all. He's very protective, but once you're in the house, he's like, "Hey, come on over here. Here's where all the good stuff is." So, but don't walk past the house because then he gets really vicious.
That's kind of weird.
He's a goofball.
I have a cat, and he's totally weird. Yeah. Fortunately, he came out for a pet session about half hour before the call. Otherwise, he would have attacked me during the call.
Oh, no.
So he got his time with mommy in. He just requires about like 5 or 10 minutes. So if I put down what I'm doing, just go attend to him, then he leaves me alone. Yeah. Otherwise, he will bother me for hours.
Let me see here. Let's see if I can. There he is.
Ooh,
and there's my daughter.
Hi, puppy.
So he's going to the window to see who's driving by.
Yeah.
So he's a good boy, though.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you have a couple shows coming up. Where can people find out about the shows? What you're going to be doing as things start to open up? How can people follow you and hopefully get a chance to see you?
They can go to Ann Husick Music. Not Ann Husick, but Ann Husick Music on Facebook.
Okay.
Because that's my music page. And I put up videos of past performances as they come into my consciousness. And I will advance my shows there.
Okay. Awesome. And then people can go to Instagram and look at your 7 pictures.
They can look at my 7 pictures someday. Because let me tell you, I've had so many gigs. There are times when I had to learn like 60 songs.
Oh, my God.
I'm not kidding. Because all of a sudden I had 4 gigs in 1 week.
Oh,
stuff like that. And as of yesterday at 3:00, I didn't have a gig tomorrow, but as of 4:30, I have a gig tomorrow. So a lot of stuff is coming up. I'm going to have a birthday show at the Parkside Lounge on September 25th. Now, I was a booking agent for years, and I got my friends and I'm going to have the best show ever.
Oh,
I'm so excited. I'm so
awesome.
excited.
Well, thank you so much for spending a good chunk of your evening with me. This has been a blast. I love talking Band of Susan, so this has been wonderful.
Thank you so much, Mark. Like I said, I've never done a podcast. I hope I wasn't boring.
Not at all.
That people listen. I'll tell people about it.
I appreciate that.
Let me know when it's coming up.
Thank
you. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.